This is the Clark Connection Podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration and power. We'll dive deep into the stories and strategies that ignite personal growth and entrepreneurial fire. Join us as we empower you to take control, level up your leadership, and build the life you deserve. Get ready to rise, to thrive, and to finally become the leader of your own destiny. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Clark Connection Podcast. Today's episode is called Lion Chaser, and it's not just a powerful title, it's a powerful story. And Aaron, this one is deeply personal for you.
It really is. This episode is a tribute to my late mentor, Roy Jenkins. Look, Roy lived his life chasing lions, stepping into challenges with courage, faith, and vision. And he taught me a lot of lessons that shaped who I am as a leader, a coach, and as a man.
And today we're going to celebrate his legacy and unpack what it means for all of us to become lion chasers in our own lives.
That's right. But this one's for you, Mr. Roy. So let's get into it.
All right, Aaron. So diving right in, my first question for you. So you've talked about Mr. Roy a little bit. I knew what happened a little bit whenever he passed, but tell me about Mr. Roy. Who is he?
Oof. How much time do we have?
However long you need.
So I mean, Mr. Roy was just a phenomenal man, always super happy, encouraging, and, definitely years of wisdom. He spent time as a scuba diver, a teacher, substitute, was a motorcycle enthusiast, which is how we ended up getting connected. A father, grandfather, husband, a mentor, and he was a friend. He's pastor. I loved being with people, wanted to help people. And that was just what he was really passionate about, his Jesus, his family, and motorcycles, and helping people. He just, they put them all together, and he was one happy person.
Mm-hmm. So is that how y'all met, through the Faith Racers?
Yeah. And one I forgot to mention, so that I didn't throw in there, author. So I have his 3 books that he wrote, all the Dirt Bike Ike series, which he says is a story about himself and wanting to try to become this professional motocross rider and racer, who ultimately ends up giving his life to Christ. And so that takes you a few books to get there, but he gets there. And so, but yeah, that's actually, so how we met was kind of funny. So that it was our first race weekend. I mean, legitimately, me and Levi are showing up to this race with about this much race knowledge, race experience. So show up, I kind of got excited. I saw a guy had posted on one of the Facebook pages that we follow that he was going to do a church service on Saturday night, after practice. And so I was like, cool, I got to go find this guy, go meet this guy. He was with Faith Racers Ministry. And so I was like, cool, this is great. There's already people at the track that are doing what I want to do in, spreading the gospel to motocross racers, things of that nature. And so I go up, I meet him. I'm like, hey, I'm kind of wanting to get involved. I've been a huddle leader with what's it called? FCA, so Fellowship of Christian Athletes, for those of y'all that aren't familiar with it. So he was like, yeah, cool. But if you're going to get started involved in this, you got to meet Mr. Roy. And so I was just kind of like, all right, well, cool. where's Mr. Roy? And he was like, well, he's not going to be here until tomorrow. So we show up next morning, getting ready. They got the writers meeting going on. So I go and find Luke, who's one of my best friends now. But I've known him all of about, so we probably met at like 5 p.m. on Saturday. And so it's like 6 a.m. on Sunday. So like I've known Luke not even 12 hours. So I go find him. I'm like, all right, so where are we going? He goes, oh, well, I'll show you where to go. So we go over there, walk over, and there's a guy over there he's got a table. He's putting stuff on there. He's running around, like trying to make stuff happen. And Luke introduced me. He's like, hey, all right, hey, Mr. Roy. And he was like, oh, hey, Luke. And he goes, hey, I wanted to introduce you real quick. That guy's wanting to get involved. This is Aaron Clark. And you could tell he was just kind of like, so I mean, he was kind of looking down, doing whatever. And I saw him kind of like stop, and he looked up, and then Roy, his eyes smiled, then he smiled, and kind of ran around the table, gave me a big old hug, and was like, it's you. And I was like, it's me.
Crazy person.
Right. It's me. And so if you knew Roy was a hugger. Roy, I don't think I saw him shake too many people's hands.
If he did, it was probably right before going in for a hug.
Yes. So, I mean, that's just who he was. Like, I mean, he hugged everybody. I mean, it didn't matter if you were full of mud or water, or they just got out the shower. He didn't care. He'd give you a hug. And so he was just kind of like, I've been praying for you. And I'm like, what? And so he's like, well, we're about to start the devotion writers meeting. It's on the way. So let's talk after. He kind of scurries off. And I honestly have no idea what he talked about that day. I don't even remember if he did a message or what. I don't remember what the writers meeting was about. Like, I don't remember hearing any of the stuff because I just kind of got lost in that, like, who is this dude that just gave me a hug, said, it's you, and I've been praying for you.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. Well, and it also was probably the only time I ever saw him speak and just not be real good. So he was distracted too.
You caught him off guard.
Oh, he caught me off guard too.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
And so I kind of hung back, just kind of waiting around. Luckily our race wasn't one of the first ones. So it wasn't like I was in a huge hurry to get back over to our pits. And not like it matters, because I mean, we were so new. We weren't very good.
We had time to kill.
Oh, I mean, we ended up, so I think there were 5 kids in his class, and we ended up with, I think, 3rd place. But it's because in both races, there were 2 kids that repped.
You just got to stay on your bike to get top 3.
Right. Oh, yeah. We were not, I mean, part like that was one of the most exciting, after he finished his race. Levi was his first one. He's like coming over and we're like hugging. He's like, I didn't fall down.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
so that's a big win. That's his first weekend.
Yeah. I was going to say, celebrating the small wins.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's a big win.
And it was at Wildwood, in Kentwood, Louisiana. So Wildwood MX in Kentwood, Louisiana. And so, yeah, I mean, it's always a tough track.
Yeah.
They always dig it deep. And they always send them into the sand pit, and it never fails. That sand monster gets all of those little bikes. So, but anywho, so yeah, I'm kind of like just hanging out, right? Just kind of waiting, because I was like, I don't know what's about to go down. He's talking to the few people that he's talking to. Levi's already went back to the pit. And sure enough, when it kind of all ended, that Roy comes up to me again, gives me another big old hug. He's like, "Oh my goodness, what is your name? Tell me." He said, "All right." I'm like, "Well, I'm Aaron Clark. I'm kind of in the between, kind of like the nice to meet you, sir." And he was like, "Man, I tell you," he said, and this was in 2020. So this was before the world fell apart.
Oh, this was in 2020.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
why
the world hadn't fallen apart
pictured
yet.
this happening so much longer ago.
No.
Okay.
So this is like January of 2020.
Okay.
So we've literally I've been in the motocross community at this point for like a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But he goes, "I've been praying for you for close to 3 years." He said, "I known what you look like. I knew what you would be. I knew you would be wearing that." I don't remember what I was wearing. I do remember, it was clothes, but he said, "I knew you would be wearing this outfit." And he said, "The only thing I never knew was your name." And he said, "It's easily been since," he said, "it might have been since 2016 that I've been praying for you." And, he was like, "If I could have went and found you, I would have went and found you." He said, "I think that's why God didn't tell me what your name was."
Yeah.
I'm like,
he would have
I don't even know what you're talking about, bro. Like, at this point, I'm still lost.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And he said, I was given a vision that you're going to be the guy that replaces me. And I was just kind of like, what are you talking? Like, I've literally never seen this guy, never talked to this guy, had no idea who this guy is. All I'm wanting to know is I just want to get into to motocross ministry because we're going to be here. And looks like you already have another person. So I'll be number 3 and I am okay with not being in charge. But the cool thing for that though, for me was that it was 2016 that was about the time that I really felt that God's calling for me to move somewhere else. So at the time I was coaching at East Ascension High School. That we just finished our second football season. Or my second football season there. And was loving it. Loved being at EA, loved coaching at EA. And I just remember feeling like, hey, you're going to go somewhere else. Like, I've got somewhere else for you to go. And, I was like, all right. And so I figured, okay, time for me to start looking for a defensive coordinator position or head football coach position. And so I went on a couple of different interviews that year and just didn't get any of the jobs. So, coach 2017 at East Ascension High School. But I still felt that the whole season, like, hey, I want you to go somewhere else. I was the FCA huddle leader, but I just couldn't shake this feeling that I was supposed to go somewhere else and do something else. Probably 2017, 2018 was about the time that Levi started saying that he wanted to race dirt bikes. I'm like, okay, dude, well, you're going to have to give me some time. I don't know what I'm like. I don't know anything about racing motocross. I know other than we watch it on TV all the time. And that's all I know about motocross.
So how did he get interested in it?
Who?
Levi.
Oh, so we've always, I think I've mentioned on here before, we used to own Harley Davidson in New Orleans. Yeah. So, I mean, I think I was riding dirt bikes and 4-wheelers before I started walking. So, I mean, we were always on like motorized vehicles, something along those lines.
But just like for fun?
Yeah, just for fun. That my brother did race.
Yeah, I thought you had told me that at one point.
Yeah. But I did. I mean, I did race it. I hurt myself, but it was after I'd finished playing college ball. And so it was more of a, I want to do this because they're doing this. I could beat them. So I never really got involved in it. Didn't know when races were, how much was a bike. I didn't know any of this stuff. And so once I kind of started figuring that out, I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to do the coaching football thing and do this. I just knew there was no way. And so after the 2018 season that we rolled in, I'd kind of told we just lost in the playoffs. And so I told the head coach, I was like, I think I'm gonna call it quits from the coaching world. He was like, what are you gonna do? I was like, I don't know. It's like, Coach Lee, I have no idea what I'm gonna do, man. Like, but this is all I've ever wanted to do. So, and I'm doing what I want to do. So I don't know. And so I ended up getting into hot shot, start my own hot shot business, and was doing well, and kind of worked out because, well, I needed a truck and whatnot to pull and haul equipment for
that's
hot
a
shot
win-win.
and motocross. Yeah. So then once we kind of got that figured out, we ended up going and doing, that was how we got into motocross then. So once I got all that after the 2018, 2019 school year was when I got out. And so after we got figured out. So that's what brings me there. And so, cause that's kind of crazy to me that was about the time that he had started praying for me. And to me, it was really like, cause I mean, it was a cold day. So like, I mean, it's relatively cool in January. So, I mean, I do remember I probably had on a black beanie. I was trying to remember what I was wearing. It's probably a black beanie and like windbreaker pants and a pullover or a hoodie. And so him kind of saying that was just kind of like, man, this is crazy. But that's kind of how we kind of met. We exchanged numbers. We didn't get to talk much there. I spoke to him before I left. And so we just kind of got involved. He wanted me to join his online Bible study. And so that's kind of how it went. That's how it got started and went with Mr. Roy. So that was how we met. I've always thought that was a cool and funny story because he was definitely a visionary.
That's so cool. It's kind of spooky, now in hindsight, I don't know. It always seems kind of morbid thinking like you're the person that's going to replace me, but I obviously understood leadership too, because that's a high up there level of leadership, training other leaders.
Right. And I mean, you've heard me say this before, success without a successor is ultimately a failure. And so and it was about that time. So Mr. Roy had survived cancer twice. And so he was going through chemo treatments again, and he didn't want to leave the motocross community without a pastor. And that was one that he thought was really cool, was that not only did he get one, so he was very excited when Luke came into the picture, but then he got two that to help replace him. And it's been really a cool journey as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm. Was there any kind of like competition between you and Luke?
Oh, no. Nope. I'll tell everybody, Luke is the best motocross pastor in all of Louisiana and Mississippi.
Okay.
And he'll tell everybody that I'm a first class liar on that. No, we work real well together. It's such a huge blessing to have somebody to be able to share that load with.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So moving, kind of segueing to the Lion Chaser. Yeah, that whole part of it. Really interested in what all of that means. And I'm guessing that's something that Mr. Roy taught you.
No, so I actually told him this, and I told Miss Linda she better hold on to the book that I'd sent him, because while I was hot shot, and I had a lot of time to sit. You spend 8 hours in a vehicle, you tend to get easily bored. So what else to do besides listen to audiobooks?
Yeah.
And so Lion Chaser by Mark Batterson is one that I sent him after I'd listened to it. And what you got to think about, like when you think of a line, like, or if you hear somebody, what's the word I'm thinking? Like the word lion, what comes to mind?
Southeastern, line up.
I mean, after the LSU game, lying down. Go Tigers. Sorry. But I think, they're the top of the food chain, the king of the jungle. I mean, I just think of like apex predator, like who does the lion really have to look out for? Like nobody, because nobody's messing with a lion. And so if I think about like running with lions or chasing lions, it's like, okay, you're crazy, because I mean, lions are fast, lions are strong. I mean, it's not possible to do that. And I mean, if I were to give you stats on the lion, like at the shoulder, they stand 4 foot tall. So if you go up to their head, they're a little bit above that, or right at 5 foot. If you go by nose to tail, they're just a little bit over 10 foot long. They weigh 500 pounds. They
pure muscle
to kind of, yeah. And, they can run that, to put it into sports terms so people understand, they run the 100-meter dash in 4 seconds. That's faster than, Tyreek Hill's running the 40. That's what a lion that will do. And, they can vertically jump above 12 feet. They can broad jump, so length out over 36 feet, bite force of 650 pounds per square inch. So, I mean, this is a massive animal. And so if you're going to go chase a lion, then you better be pretty tough. I mean, I don't, it's an animal that's gonna hurt you. They're big, they're fast, they're strong, and you better be tough. That's always had a coach, and then my uncle always tells me too, if you're going to be stupid, you better be strong. So, I mean, that's literally what I hear when I think of somebody chasing a lion. This is somebody that's crazy. They've lost their mind.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. A little delusional.
Yeah. But what it really is and what it stands for is it's somebody that's chasing a huge dream. It's somebody that's chasing a dream that's bigger than them. It's about bigger than you. And, when Mr. Roy started the motocross ministry in Louisiana 20 years prior to me actually meeting him, so late 90s, early 2000s, so we would tell everybody he's the OG motocross pastor. He got it started, he got it going. And
so did he have kids that raced?
He did not. He was a racer himself.
Oh, cool.
And it was just part of the community. And, and I'd actually, as much as we got to talk and got to know each other, and as close as we were, I'd actually never met his children. I knew Lacey and Kyle by name, what all they did, but I never met them. I never even met his wife, Miss Linda, until that Saturday that we actually ended up dedicating the announcer tower at Wildwood is now the Roy Jenkins Memorial Tower. And that's such a huge moment too, because Roy was the guy, he was the voice of Wildwood. He was the guy calling the races. And that was kind of when it hit me, so the owners of the track called me and said, hey, no, we're gonna make it the Roy Jenkins Memorial Tower. And it was just like, wow, Roy wasn't lying when he said I'm going to be the one taking over for him, because now I'm the voice of Wildwood, doing just about all the motocross events that we're at and going to. And so it was one of those that you kind of saw come full circle at that time.
Yeah.
Uh,
He surely
of it.
wasn't lying.
Dad jokes.
Oh, I can't help it. Oh,
No, it was good. It was good. But it's a lion chaser is, that's what they are. They're going after something big. It's bigger than them.
so he wanted to
and
start the Faith Racers ministry. So he started it. Sorry, that's kind of where you were getting.
yeah, so with it, he didn't start Faith
Okay.
Racers. He was just a motocross pastor. Andre was the one that started Faith Racers. But I love how Mark says it on the title up here, Chase the Lion. It says, if your dream doesn't scare you, it's too small. And that's what a lion chaser does. And he goes through in the book too and talks about people who chase lions. So I mean, the first one that we're really talking about is King David. King David was one of the first noted lion chasers, and that he talks about he protected his father's sheep from the lions and bears. And so I mean, he would go after them and kill them. So you got King David. The second one that you would talk about is Daniel. Everybody's familiar, Daniel in the lion's den. So, he was one, he got thrown in with lions, wasn't scared, wasn't harmed, right in there with them. And then you've got who the book was based off of, which was Benaiah. And I want to read kind of what it said about each. So, so right here in 1 Samuel 17:34-36, David's about to go. This is the infamous right before David versus Goliath fight. And David says, David answered Saul, your servant has been tending his father's sheep. Whenever a lion or a bear came and carried off a lamb from the flock, I went after it, struck it down, rescued the lamb from its mouth. If it reared up against me, I'd grab it by its fur, strike it down, and kill it. Your servant has killed lions and bears. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, for he has defiled the armies of the living God. And so, not afraid to go and take on a challenge, not afraid. They don't they don't run away from the roar, they run to the roar. And then much like that, Roy wanted to see the gospel shared at the motocross track, and he wanted to see all the things that eventually he knew would happen, but that he never really got to see happen. Next one was David. And, it talks about when he went into, not David, Daniel, when he went into the lion's den, had said, so Daniel 6:10-24, but really the one that I want to focus on is in verse 10. It says, and when Daniel learned that the document had been signed, he went to his house, that the windows in the upper room opened towards Jerusalem, and 3 times a day he got down on his knees, prayed, and gave thanks to God, just as he had before. And so when that problem arose, things happened. But Daniel went to God in prayer, and that's one that lion chasers is their prayer warriors. And that was one that Mr. Roy definitely was. And it was cool because a lot of times he would very specifically mention when we would talk how he was praying for me, and specifically what he could be praying for, and the strength and the wisdom and everything to be the leader that I was meant to be. I would get weekly notifications. Hey, specifically praying for you today. I want you to know that you're loved and thought of. And so the last one, though, was Benaiah. And that's where they really based the book off of. And it comes from 2 Samuel 23, 20 through 23. We don't know a whole lot about Benaiah other than he was part of David's mighty men and he was Solomon's bodyguard. And so it says in verse 20, and it says, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, that was the son of a brave man from Kabezel. And he went down into a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. And so I don't know about you, but if I found myself in a pit on a snowy day, A, that's not good. Because I don't like the cold. But B, if there's a lion in there too. Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's just not good. Might be the last problem you ever had. But I mean, let's face it. If you're putting it on, you're wanting to put something on your resume to become the bodyguard of the king. Hey, I went into a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. Is not a bad thing to put on the resume, right?
That's impressive. I'd give him the job for sure.
And that was what, lion chasers, they're not afraid. They're not afraid to go on and take on the task that they've been dealt. And Mr. Roy wasn't afraid to do that. He wasn't afraid to go on and meet and beat uncertain obstacles and times and standings. It was always something that he was going on. And he just always had such a good disposition about it. He was always, just grateful and thankful. And even I remember coming through that second bout with cancer, just how positive, encouraging he was, and was always looking for somebody else to uplift. That even, as he passed, with the passing of him, was hit by a drunk driver while he was on his motorcycle. And this was at like 3 p.m. Okay. So it's not like he was out late or anything. He was on his way to go minister to a couple that was about to get married. And he wanted to do counseling and make sure that they are part of our motocross community. And he wanted to take care of them. He wanted to make sure that's what it was. And so, I mean, to me, it's kind of a fitting, if there had to be a way for Mr. Roy to go, that he's on his motorcycle, going to help somebody. And that's just who he was. He just was always looking to help somebody. And was always happy and was always just there. It was, full of energy, full of life.
Yeah.
Sounds like phenomenal
an awesome guy. Well, that makes sense. Everything about wanting someone to replace him and, being that person to step up into that role. But I know he became a really big mentor for you personally. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so that kind of came about. I joined that first Bible study online with him. And as we started going through, there was a lot of times he would ask me to just kind of, hey, hang on and let's talk afterwards. And so we would stay on and talk just a little while longer. Maybe another 30 minutes or so every week whenever every Tuesday night. And then it went on to, after we finished that Bible study, to where he was like, all right, you're going to be he said, I'm not going to do this anymore, Aaron. I just can't keep doing this anymore. Hey, you're going to take over the next Bible study. And I said, I'm going to be there. I'm going to encourage you through it. And I wasn't really worried about it because that wasn't the first time I'd led a class. It wasn't the first time I'd led a Bible study. But he made sure he was on every single one of those. And if we didn't stay on and talk afterwards that night, he would call me the next morning to talk about, all right, this is what we saw. This is what we did. Here's how you can improve. He was always looking to help somebody be better. And then kind of after that, it just really became mine. So, when he exited the scene, it was late 2020. But we always stayed in touch. We always, he was definitely somebody that whenever I knew I was going to be in the area, that I stopped and made sure that I went and saw Mr. Roy. I went and made sure I had lunch with Mr. Roy. And always met up with him.
So he
And I think one of the
exited the
coolest,
motocross scene in 2020?
yeah,
Okay, so he
end of
really
2020,
like
beginning of
handed it
20,
off.
yeah, yeah. Well, he was going through that second bout
Yeah.
of cancer, and so it just became too much for him. But I mean, if you didn't know him, you'd have never known.
Yeah.
You'd have never known.
But you stayed in touch.
And so, right, we stayed. I mean, and we didn't necessarily talk weekly, but it was at least 2 to 3 times a month. He would just call and check on me and make sure that things were going good. I'd call him if something was going bad. But something good happened, I'd call him too. I wouldn't just call him when it was bad. But that was the where it kind of forced me to go and grow. And he wasn't lying. I mean, the ministry took off real well in 21, 22. That we were having at just about every race, somewhere between 30 and 50 people showing up to church services, which is like really good for a local race. So, but yeah, I mean, and then one that I love that he would always end it with. And so I've now got one of my in the Bible that I read in the morning. So on one of the little note cards that I have in there, he would always say, "Hey, what's your motive? Why are you doing what you're doing?" He would always end our sessions with that. And so I made sure to put that on there, what's my motive? To look at it, and reminds me, I don't see it every day. I touch it every day, but I don't see it every day, if that makes sense. But I was looking at it the last week or so, really putting things into perspective. What's my motive? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And it really, even to the last phone call that we had, they had texted me and said, "Hey, I felt the need to share with you my latest devotion that I've written." He was putting together a devotional book, so I don't have his first one that he wrote or his second, and he never finished the second one. But he shared it with me. I didn't even think about it. I probably got it on here in my notes, but I think the title was called "The Great Reunion." Let me see. No, but I know I got it in my notes on my computer. But I think that was what it was called, was "The Great Reunion." It was talking about, what a fun day it's going to be once you actually get up to heaven and see, when you get to see Jesus, when you get to see God, when you're up there and just, seeing all the people that you've lost and loved. And he'd sent me a copy of it to look through. He was like, "Just read through this one for what." So, whatever reason God inspired him to do that, that's how that ended up with me on that. But, I was like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." We were actually at a race in Tallahassee, Alabama at Monster Mountain. And I just called him, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't going right at work. And this was like 2 Fridays before he ended up passing. And so I'd called him. I was like, actually, it might have been Saturday. I can't remember, but was just talking through, I was like, "Man, I've got this going on. I'm frustrated. I'm wanting to, help my team, but I'm just feeling like I'm failing, and, nothing's going right. Woe is me. I'm having a pity party." And I was just kind of telling him a lot as I was going down and breaking down really the dynamics of what was going through. And he was like, well, Aaron, he said, I this, your situation's not as bad. He said, you're definitely being way too hard on yourself. You're the biggest critic that you know. He said, I don't know if I've, but he said, that's what I know about people who are, top dogs. They're never satisfied with what they've got. They've always got to be better. And we're going through and we're just talking. And I was like, hey, I'm going to be in Covington in 2 weeks. But do you want to have lunch? And so he was like, oh, absolutely. And so I told him, all right, I'll be there. I said, not this Thursday, but the next Thursday. I was like, I'm really looking forward to seeing you. It'll be good just to actually see you in person, because it'd probably been about 2 months since I'd seen him in person. And, we didn't talk the next week. I did text him like Monday or something, like, hey, just want to confirm that we're still good for Thursday, right? Or he might have texted me. I don't remember. I was like, yeah. So one way or the other, we knew we were still meeting. And then but that was how we ended that last call. Was always remember, Aaron, what's your motive? Why are you doing this? Are you trying to do this for Aaron, or are you trying to do this for the Lord? What's the motive? Are you doing it to serve the people around you, or are you doing it to bring glory to you? Why are you doing what you're doing? Always remember to have the right motive. I was like, oh, yes, Mr. Roy, But I do remember being like, you're right. I've got to keep the right motive. And he said, you've got a message to speak tomorrow morning. Go. He said, if you have the opportunity right now, just go over to where you're going, so you can figure this message out, because I didn't have that down either, so I didn't know what I was going to talk about. So when I tell you everything was going wrong, and I only had an 8-hour drive to figure out what I was going to not talk about, right? But so and I did. I went and did that, but what was going through, I praying through it, found the message. I remember telling him what it was. I don't remember, because I don't have any of those texts anymore. But then I remember, that Tuesday, because it was a Tuesday, whenever he passed, and I just remember like very a urge to like, hey, let me call him. That was sometime between 1 and 2 o'clock, and by 3 o'clock he was gone. That's the one thing that I wish I'd have taken advantage of, was that nudge, to just call. And so that's one that I do now. It's, if I feel the urge to call you or text you, I'm going to do it. Even if we hadn't spoken 2 years, I'm just going to do it. Because I don't know what that may or may not do for you in that moment, even if you never message me back.
Mm-hmm. And you don't know the reason why you felt compelled to reach out. Maybe a legitimate reason. Well, I hope that maybe you find some solace or some peace in the last few things that he said to you, with the great reunion. That's such a beautiful image. And then even just, hey, remember, what's your motive? This is important. We've talked about this. Don't forget it. Does that bring you any peace at all? Knowing that he at least, spoke what he felt and said what he needed to say?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, there's no.
And it seems like he did what he wanted to do too. He lived a fulfilled life.
He did. There's no like, I mean, I got a lot of peace and solace about it because I know no doubt that I'm going to see Roy again. I mean, he might not look like the Roy I knew. He's probably be a little bit younger looking, fitter looking. When we all get that glorious body
That
that looks
glow.
something like mine.
Well,
But it's, I'm definitely at peace with it. It's
that's good because I know you.
sad because I miss my friend.
Yeah, definitely. I know you took it really hard.
I did. Well, it was sudden. It wasn't like, whereas like I look at something like with my grandfather, we saw that coming. Whereas Mr. Roy, nobody saw that coming. So it was, but it was so cool at the funeral to see how many people were there and lives that he touched. And he was always trying to make sure, he reached the least of these. He thought that was important that we went out, after he made it through the second bout with cancer. He ended up joining another a motorcycle group, and part of their mission was they would go down, I think it was every other weekend, they would go feed the homeless and minister to the homeless and talk to the homeless and get to know the homeless. And so, I mean, that was just what Roy did. That's who Roy was. He was always after something bigger than him.
Yeah, and not afraid to go after
He
it.
knew he couldn't. Yeah, he couldn't feed all the homeless there was. He knew he couldn't save everybody. He was going to go after it.
Mhm.
And as part of it, with some of the stuff that you go and chase as a lion chaser, when you go chase your dreams, when you go after, you give people the space to go and chase their own dreams. You allow other people to go and do that. You make it to where they can go and accomplish the same thing because they see something that says, hey, if Aaron can go after it and do that, why can't I? And so we owe it. We owe it to people to do that. We owe it to God to do that.
Yeah. And we owe it to ourselves too. I think a lot of people maybe sell themselves short. Like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it all the way, And like you said, you're not going to feed all of the homeless, but that doesn't mean that you can't make a difference. And the very first thing, like when we started talking and I told you, I really pictured this relationship between the two of you as like way longer. Like, I didn't realize that y'all had just met in 2020, but I think that just goes to show like how much of an impact you can make on someone's life, whether it's, 50 years or 5 years or 5 minutes, make an impact. And it's up to the other person to decide, what they're going to kind of do with it and learn from it. But I think if you had a relationship with this guy for 5 minutes, it would have been impactful, just based off of what I've heard. But you were lucky enough to have him for a few years. And that's awesome.
Yep. This Thursday, so October 9th, makes 2 years that Roy's not been here anymore. So, I mean, it's hard to believe that, it was only a 3-year relationship. I've only known him just over 3 years. But in that short amount of time, and this is important, guys. This is important that as you're looking for somebody to be a mentor, you're looking for somebody that's going to take the time to pour into you. They're gonna call you out. So, I mean, there were many times that when I'd call him and he'd go, and now, Aaron, do you think that it's fair that you believe that this was done to you like this? And it's like, come on, man, let me have that.
No.
Or, oh, the one, this one was a good, or, I wish I could remember what it was. He went, oh my goodness, hang on one second. That I wonder if God knows that this happened to you, Aaron. Do you think that God was caught off guard by this too? And I'm like, come on, man. You're like, no, he knew it was going to happen.
I love him. I love him.
Be thankful.
Yeah.
So
my last question for you, because it definitely seems like Mr. Roy just laid it all out on the table. You never know when today is going to be your last. But if you could ask him one more thing and then tell him one more thing, what would they be?
I'd probably want to tell him thank you. Trying to think what I would even want to ask him right now, but that with so many different things going on right now in the world, it's just all different. I mean, there's just so much craziness happening right now. And not just in my life, but everything, I've got my own problems that I'd love to sit and talk and just pick his brain, because I know he's been through stuff that I'd been through. I'd love to just ask him, what would you do with this? What would you do with that? Just trying not to I don't want to get, because there's some things that would be too personal for other people in this store. So, I mean, I would love to be able to just ask him and have him give me that smart aleck remark, or, that jab, like, come on, bub, you're better than that. But I definitely want to tell him thank you, and just to let him know how much that I loved him and how much he meant to me. And that, I mean, it was he always had the right thing to say at the right time. And then, because I still haven't technically found that mentor that's replaced him. And I think that's another one that's important for people to know, is just because you lose a mentor doesn't mean you just pick up the next available person walking by. You got to make sure that it's going to be that person that's going to spend time with you, that they're going to pour into you, and they're going to hold you accountable. But more importantly, they're going to be a friend, because a mentor is somebody who's a friend. They're going to care for you, because they're going to be the first person that's excited when you win. And they're going to be the first person to come over and put that arm around you when you lose. That's what a mentor is. There's somebody that wants to see you succeed more than you even want to see you succeed. So don't just take the next person that comes along. Make sure it's the right person. And you'll know who the right person is. As I've been looking and searching, you'll see them that all this, they just don't have a lot of time for you. Cool. That's not the right person. And they seem to get frustrated or whatever with you. That's not the right person. But you'll know by those that are willing to spend the time with you. But then also be a mentor to somebody else. You don't have to be the CEO of a company to mentor somebody. You just have to be one step ahead of them to show them where to go.
Yeah. And you're going to need help. If you've got those big dreams, you're chasing that lion, you're going to need help.
Yeah. And so, definitely would say go chase that lion.
Well, thanks for sharing, Aaron. I feel really honored to have been a part of this tribute episode. And I wish that I could have had the opportunity to meet Mr. Roy, but I'm glad that, you had those years that you did with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Caitlin, I can't tell you how much it means to me to share this story today. Roy's life was bigger than any one of us, but his lessons, his courage live on.
Absolutely, Aaron. And listening to you, it's clear that being a lion chaser isn't just about bold moves. It's about living with purpose, chasing what matters, and leaving a legacy that inspires others.
Exactly. If there's one thing I hope the listeners take away, it's this. Chase the lions in your life. Step into the fear, and don't let hesitation hold you back. Roy taught me that, and I hope it inspires you too.
And remember, honoring those who shaped us isn't just about remembering their names. It's about living out the values that they modeled to us.
Thanks for joining us on this tribute to Roy Jenkins. Keep chasing lions, and we'll see you on the next episode. Clark Connection Podcast.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection Podcast, where my goal is to add value to you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. You can also connect with me via my website, coachaclark.com, or on all socials at coach_a_Clark. The links are in the description. Huge thanks to my sponsors, Wayne with 7K Metals, Bobbie with the Comfy Quest LLC, Andrew with Automate Integrate Professional Services, Joseph with Landscape King, and Chris and Jess with C&J Embroidery. Hey, we look forward to bringing you more great content. See you next week.